Okay, here's another question from the interwebs. Why do I need to use CT for R&D? Or another way to ask the same question is CT an R&D tool or more of a manufacturing tool or failure analysis tool? Where is computer tomography into this chain of events that happen during the design and manufacturing of a product? If the products you design, right, the products you do research and development on, R&D on, if in the process of designing something, if they're simple enough that you don't need to see what's inside these components, you don't need to slice them, open them, cut them, you don't need CT, you're good. However, there's a whole bunch of designs and products out there, like, from consumer products like this, to injection molding, to CNC, medical devices. There's a whole range of products right there that during the design and engineering, you have to close the loop and figure out if what you designed, engineered, and manufactured is actually what you researched and developed, right? And that loop is tight and stays in R&D until, okay, it is ready for the next step of engineering and manufacturing, and then you can release for production. So computer tomography is a technique that gives you the ability to see what's inside the material in a volume way. What does that mean, right? When I do an X-ray of this plastic injection molded part, when I do an X-ray, I see a two-dimensional image, right? And it's nothing but a projection of all this volume into a flat surface. Imagine when you do an X-ray of your chest or your arm or your face, right? That whole volume is essentially projected into a flat screen. A film in the old days, now it's a screen. Well, what happens is that you lose information, right? You lose the ability to distinguish between what happened here, or happened there within the sample, right? Because it all shows up as a flat image. Tomography is a more complicated, if you will, but I would say more sophisticated process where instead of taking one image of the object, you're gonna take hundreds, sometimes thousands of images of your object, and as you rotate, so you take an image like this, you take another X-ray like this, another X-ray like that, another X-ray like this, and you take all these X-rays rotating the object, and depending on the resolution you want, you might get to each rotation is 0.1 degrees or 0.01 degrees. So you end up with thousands of these 2D X-ray images, each of them spaced by an equal amount of angular step. What you do then is you take all these images as they step through these small angles, you put them into a reconstruction software, which is a CT reconstruction software. And these softwares have been around since the 70s, which essentially got a Nobel Prize in the late 70s. And of course, they've gotten more and more sophisticated. And then once you get all this information out of the reconstruction software, what you end up with is this cloud of points and information that is nothing but a digital representation of this object. But the cool thing about CT is that now, imagine taking a knife, I can slice through the sample and see exactly what's inside. During the R&D process, having the ability to see what your samples look like before you go through all the expensive steps of engineering and manufacturing, if you can tighten that process and catch issues before you commit them to engineering, can save you a ton of money and a ton of headaches. And that's why a lot of our customers use our CT systems in the R&D stage. Of course, we have customers that then use for during the manufacturing, right, for quality control. So depending on what you do, but for the most part, you're not gonna CT every single sample you manufacture because it takes too much time. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna sample. Some customers use it for failure analysis. So something breaks and fails, you bring it back. You do a CT and you analyze to see exactly what happened. It's getting more and more common that computer tomography should be used in early stages of the process during research and development. And again, don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any other questions, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to see if these tools are the right tools for your process. Thanks for watching.